Welcome to Leading AI Agents. I'm Olivia Mansion, and my guest today is someone who left a $150,000 data science job at Toyota to go build AI tools, teach nearly 100,000 people on YouTube how to actually use the technology, and set a public goal to launch 20 AI products. He's a physicist by training and a builder by obsession. Shaw Talebi earned his PhD in physics from UT Dallas, where he applied data science to human health and performance research. After grad school, he joined Toyota Financial Services as a data scientist. But in 2023, he walked away from the corporate path to pursue entrepreneurship full time. He'd already been building an audience through YouTube and writing on Medium, breaking down complex AI concepts like AI language models, AI agents, and retrieval augmented generation in ways that technical and non-technical people can understand. And that bet has paid off. Shao now runs an AI Builder Academy, training teams at companies like Google, Microsoft, Meta, and AWS on how to implement AI. His bootcamp on Maven has trained over 165 builders with a near perfect rating. He's also building his own AI products, including Y2B, a tool that turns YouTube videos into blog posts. And he's advised more than 100 businesses on AI and analytics. He runs a community called the Data Entrepreneurs for technical founders and freelancers figuring out how to build real businesses around AI. But what I really appreciate about Shaw is that he doesn't just explain AI, he builds with it publicly and he shares what works and doesn't along the way. So Shaw, welcome to Leading AI Agents. I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Awesome. So what was that moment for you that you just knew that AI was something that you were going to get into and that bus was not leaving without you?
That's an interesting question, actually. Um, so I guess my start was back in grad school, and I guess I didn't really get started thinking, oh, this AI thing is, super interesting, or I need to kind of get on the bandwagon or anything like that. Back then we called it machine learning, and what was very fascinating to me was that before when you wanted to like get computers to do things, you would have to spend a lot of time writing lines of code, and especially in like math and physics, you would have to take these equations that you learn about in class, and you would have to translate them into a form that can run efficiently on a computer. So basically, the kind of math you do on a chalkboard and the kind of math that computers can do can be a little different. So you'd have to make that translation. And that was something that was interesting to me. But what was even more interesting is with this machine learning thing, we no longer had to make that translation explicitly. Instead, we could just collect a lot of data about the world, and then we could give it to the computer, and the computer would figure out the math on its own. It would figure out how to take the inputs of the equations and generate the outputs that we cared about. And so that was a lot of my grad school research, and that's a lot of like what I did at Toyota. And fundamentally, that's all these AI models are doing today. But that's really what got me started. I guess on a deeper level, I've always been fascinated with how the brain works and how humans work. And I guess that's one of the things that pulled me into AI. And a lot of, if you kind of go to look inside the AI labs, it's a lot of physicists actually. So I think there's I don't know, definitely just curiosity of like, because the more we learn about AI, the more we get computers to, um, you know, do intelligent things, like have intelligence, the more we learn about our own intelligence and ourselves. So it's like it's just like infinitely fascinating. And then also the feeling of getting computers to do things for you is a great feeling. Uh, I had this friend in grad school. We would be at the bar like on a Friday at like 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. or whatever. And he would always say that his code is running, so he's technically working right now. And so I definitely had that feeling in grad school as well. But I've been having that feeling much more recently because I've been getting Claude to automate a lot of like tedious things for me, like video editing or like answering emails or doing prospecting or whatever it might be. And just like knowing Claude is off doing work for me is just like a great feeling. It just I can go sit on the patio or something.
That's amazing. That's yeah, there's when you have an agent, right, who is on your team, like you can just yeah. So what are you spending your time on when Claude is doing work for you and with
Yeah,
you?
so yeah, well, I think it's two things. One, the more we delegate to computers or AI agents, however you want to say it, uh, the more you can focus on the higher leverage stuff, like the strategic stuff. There's so many things that, especially if you're running like a business solo, like me, I'm a solo founder. Like nothing moves in the business unless you push it, or at least traditionally that was the way it is. And it's like, you feel like you can never take a vacation, or, if you don't respond to your customer or your client, no one else is going to respond for you. So I guess that being able to like automate or delegate that is a great feeling, but it requires a new type of thinking. So instead of how do I respond to this email, the question is how do I get Claude to respond to this email? And it would be like the same way, like, okay, how do I train a salesperson to respond to this email? So it's like a higher level way of thinking about business and like getting things done. So just like when you're hiring people and training people and trying to get them to follow a specific process to get things done, it's having that higher level thinking, but now with AI agents on how do we get Claude to get things done in a specific way and in a way that's actually helpful and not unhelpful and causes more headaches and more problems for the business. So that's one side. The other side is that the thing with modern AI, it actually allows us to be more human because before it was very unnatural the way we'd get computers to do things. User interfaces or writing code. Um, these are not things that humans are used to. Humans are used to interacting with other humans and having conversations. And now with I practically do like very little typing. Everything is dictated because the AIs are, well, one, the dictation tools are a lot better now, but also, even if the dictation tools aren't great, AIs are smart enough to know what you mean. So, I use the built-in Apple dictation tool a lot. It doesn't get everything right, often, but it's still like Claude is smart enough to understand what I meant by it, and it'll do what I wanted. So now the way I work actually looks a lot different where since I'm not like actually doing the hands-on keyboard work a lot of times myself, I can be sitting on the patio with my AirPods in, and I'll just be like having strategic discussions with Claude, or like yesterday, I'm like getting over a cold, so I've been like low energy, so just I knew I had like some to-dos to do. So I went to Claude. I was like, okay, what were the things I needed to get done today? It's like, oh, you had to send these emails. And I was like, okay, well, let's draft those emails. So write a template for me. And then we went back and forth on the template. And then it sent off the emails. And so it's allowing me to do work in a much more ergonomic way. Like I can do work sitting on the patio, I can go for a walk, I can, not be stuck behind a computer and staring at a screen. Like I can be out in nature and, um, you know, not losing my vision or not developing carpal tunnel. So I think it just allows us to do work, be productive, generate value, um, in a way that's more ergonomic. That's probably the best word I can use to describe it.
I love that word ergonomic. I think that that is such a because it's very visual. It's like AI is adapting to you. And so as we're thinking about that kind of adaptation that's happening, how are you yourself and your leadership adapting to Claude? Like what do you need to provide it?
So I think one of the most important things is like clear thinking. Like that's never been more important. That's always been important for business or you're trying to get anything done. You need a clear mental model of what you're trying to do. So I'm trying to think of a good example that might resonate with the audience. But let's say you kind of like understand everything about okay, so I'll just kind of speak to my world because I can speak somewhat intelligibly about it. So you have like I have a mental model of what a typical learner, like a typical software engineer might understand about AI. So I have like a mental model of what they understand about AI and what skills they have and what they understand about the world. So all a mental model is something that allows you to make predictions. So if I kind of present to that model version of a software engineer um, a slide on context engineering, and I say, context engineering is giving the AI the right context at the right time, and then here's how you do it. Like I can better craft the instructional material for that target audience because I know I'll know how they'll react to the content. So that's what mental models allow us to do. They allow us to run these simulations in our minds, so that so that we can make better decisions. And this is what any good operator or any good business leader is going to have. They're going to have these really good mental models about their employees, about their customers, about their markets, about their competitors, so that when some intervention happens or something changes or they do some behavior, they're going to be able to predict what the reaction to that is going to be. And that's just as important now with AI. So basically, it's you have your clear mental models, and then basically trying to get alignment with you and Claude so that you guys are talking about the same thing. And great thing about Claude is that it's seeing basically everything humans can see on the internet. So basically knows everything. And if you are specific enough and you give it enough guidance, it's going to be able to understand like what it is you're trying to do, and it'll pick it up pretty quickly. Um, and so yeah, so I think having that clear thinking that like you can't outsource the clear thinking, and I think that's where a lot of people go wrong. They kind of try to outsource that and try to get the AI to think for them or to answer all the questions for them, and that's when things tend to go sideways. But I guess more practically. The number one most helpful thing you can do to like steer Claude to actually do helpful work for you is to develop so-called agent skills. So if you've used Claude before, um, you may have noticed there's a customize tab on the left panel. And if you click on that, there's a option that says skills and there's an option that says connectors. So skills are really probably the highest leverage thing you can develop as a Claude user. And all a skill is a reusable instruction that Claude can use as needed. So for example, I have skills for Claude that teach it how to write emails like me, how to generate executive briefings, how to write copy, how to do prospecting, how to grab statistics from recent LinkedIn posts, how to edit videos, I mean, there's a lot of things. I probably have like, 25 skills so that I've developed over the past couple of months. But that's probably the number one thing I recommend everyone to do. You don't have to be a coder. You don't have to be technical to develop skills. You just need to know how to speak English. And to develop skills, it's a very simple process. So the way I recommend doing it is like through this like four-step process. Like first is to get Claude to do whatever it is you're trying to get it to do like one time. So for example, I was just helping a client. They were like manually creating these Word documents for internal SOPs and internal company documents. They would manually, you know, add the branding and the watermarks and the version, like the version history and all that kind of stuff. Um, but this is a perfect thing for Claude. So what we did is, okay, let's just get Claude to add the watermark and all the stuff to this internal document together. Excuse me. Um, we did that together. And this was like a 30-minute, back and forth. We've all been there. Like you kind of have this really long conversation with the AI, and at the end of it, you're like, why the hell did I spend the last 30 minutes trying to force the AI to do this thing? I could have done it faster myself. And that's very true. And most times it's going to feel like that. And I think, yeah. And if you just do that every single time, AI is not going to be very helpful. Like if you have to have these 30-minute conversations to do anything productive, it's not going to be helpful. But what makes it helpful is the second step, is after all that pain and suffering, you tell Claude, okay, distill everything we've talked about into a reusable skill. And then Claude will basically package the whole thing. It'll make a skill called like internal document creator or something like that. And it'll distill all its learnings, all the mistakes it made into one of these skill files. And that is going to have the specialized instructions. It's going to tell Claude, what to do, what not to do, any kind of hiccups it ran into, how to avoid those hiccups. If it needs to run any code, it's going to provide that code, and whatever it took to get that task done. So that's step two. Then the third step is you just test it. So you open up a new chat and then you try to do the task again. And what is going to happen is instead of 30 minutes, it's going to take like maybe 3 to 5 minutes for Claude to do the same exact task. Because now it knows exactly how to do it and it can reference that skill as needed. But then the fourth step is the most critical because the thing is like, your business is like constantly evolving, and then just like doing one example may not address all the different things that might come up in the business. So, for example, you like hire an intern, and you onboard them, you kind of show them the ropes, like, okay, this is how we do project management, these are how we communicate, these are this is kind of like the culture, this is the vibe here, this is how we do things. But then something comes up. Uh, that didn't you didn't think to include in the onboarding session, but it just kind of comes up naturally in the day-to-day of the business. And then the intern learns that stuff on the job. And so the fourth step is basically allowing Claude to learn things on the job. So let's say with that Word document example, you encounter like a new kind of document. So instead of just generally adding company branding and watermarks to the document, maybe you want to create a quarterly briefing or something like that, or you want to create a memo, and that has a very particular format. And so once you write one of those documents, you can tell Claude, hey, this is a special kind of document that I'm going to write every quarter or whatever it is. Remember this so that, next time we do it, it can be more streamlined. And then you can update the skill. And so this four-step framework is basically how I've been onboarding Claude into my business, like on the fly, without kind of spending like, weeks not getting any work done, spending all my time trying to code Claude to do things. I'm really just getting things done with Claude. Yeah, it takes longer to do it the first time with Claude than maybe it is for me to do it just manually without Claude. But after I do it that first time, it just compounds. And then what I realize is that there are things that I can do now that I just didn't have time for before because I'm now doing like that higher level thinking, that higher leverage thinking. So it's do the task once with Claude, turn it into a skill, test the skill to make sure it works, and then keep iterating on the skill every single time you use it. So Claude gets smarter every time you use the skill. I'm sure that was a ton of
Master class.
information.
No, that's like a full master class. Oh my gosh, this is gold. And I think what you're saying is so smart. It's like while you're with Claude doing that job or, training it, just go ahead and create the skill while you're there. Instead of this weekend, I'm going to work on creating the skills. And then you're
Exactly.
trying to think through your business and all the things you need to do. Just like
Exactly.
while you're there, do it. I think that is
Hmm.
so genius. And I think when it goes back to that clear thinking too, I think that's also that part of that process. You're training it, working with it, creating those templates, testing it, and then in the future you're editing it as you would in your business. You're like, oh, there's this other use case scenario, or let me create a second
Right.
offshoot skill, which makes so much sense. And so as you're working with these clients and these businesses, what would you say is the hardest thing for people to um, transition into using AI or relying on agents?
Well, it's a completely different tool. And I guess it's a bit of a double-edged sword as well, because before with applications that you interact with, um, it's a double-edged sword because the modern tools, AI tools, are more ergonomic than ever. It's just a very natural conversation interface. You can dictate everything. You don't have to type anything. There's no point and click. Like basically the whole thing can be through natural language. So on one hand, it's very user friendly, but on the other hand, it's kind of like daunting. It's like staring at a blank page. You're not sure what you're supposed to do with it. And so that's kind of like the dilemma here. It's like it's more flexible and more powerful than applications that we're used to. But at the same time, like learning how to use them is a proper skill. There's probably a bit of more of a skill barrier to maximize how much value you get from it.
Mm.
And ultimately, uh, so I do think like that barrier might lead to people trying it once, not getting good results, kind of like, they try it once, it takes them an hour to do something it would have taken them 5 or 10 minutes to do, and they're just frustrated after, and they say, AI sucks or whatever, and they move on with their lives. Um, but if they were to, I don't know, if they were to know about that four-step framework, maybe they would have seen it differently. But the problem is, like, that four-step framework is a skill you have to learn. This is kind of what the user has to bring to the to the application to the picture. So I think that that's probably a big challenge, like not knowing what you can do with these tools. So for example, there's like a lot of secret stuff. Like Claude has a tool that allows it to ask you questions. Claude has a tool that allows it to create to-do lists. Claude has a tool that allows it to create mini Claudes to get specific tasks done. Claude can search the web. So like Claude can write code and execute code. So if you don't know these things, then you don't even think to ask the right questions or make the right requests. But I guess on the bright side, is Claude is the first, or like these modern AI tools are the first tools that when you don't know how to do something, you just ask it. So you can just say like, "Hey, what can I do with you? Like, what tools do you have available? What are, this is my business, this is my context. What are the kinds of things that we can do together?" And it's really through the iteration, just spending time with these tools, they start to develop the intuition of where they're helpful, where they're not helpful. Um, what are the features, perhaps hidden features that aren't so obvious when you first look at them. But that just comes through practice. And again, like anytime you're confused about something, you can just ask the AI and it'll give you a pretty good answer.
So there seems to be this combination of you're talking about clear thinking, but also curiosity and this like
Hmm.
just openness and showing up and being like, I don't really know what I should be asking you. Whereas maybe if you hired somebody, that'd be so embarrassing. I'd be like, I just hired you.
Right.
What should I do with you? It's like you wouldn't ask that, right? But you can ask somebody, what are the range of your talents? Are there some talents that you have that I don't know about? And those are sort of
Hmm.
leadership skills when you hire someone and you're like, oh my gosh, I hired this person for graphic design, but it turns out they're a great writer. So you kind of
Yeah, yeah.
learn as you work with them. I'm curious, are you using agents or Claude for your personal life? Or do you draw a line between work and personal?
I guess I don't have much of a personal life.
Work
So
is life.
yeah, that's the season I'm in right now. But I guess for more personal stuff, like I was sick recently, so maybe like asking like medical questions or whatever. I'll default to ChatGPT. And I guess that's partially because I don't want to use my Claude tokens on personal things. I want to reserve it for like getting work done. And I'm subscribed to all the different AI providers, so I gotta feel like I'm getting my value some way.
That's interesting. I think it's a natural thing for us to kind of compartmentalize. And some people compartmentalize either, like you're saying, ChatGPT and Claude. It's like, got to keep those things a little separate, or maybe on different machines, right? Some people are using Mac minis for
Yeah,
certain devices and other things. So it's, I think, a very natural thing for us to kind of want to do that naturally.
yeah, that makes sense.
What do you think the future of work? What do you think it's going to look like in the future? Like, do you think it's going to be this natural thing where you have an agent, maybe our agents have meetings with each other? Do you think it's going to be normal where everybody is leading agents? What is that going to look like, do you think?
I definitely think roles are going to be less defined by their day-to-day tasks and inputs and more defined by their outcomes and their outputs. So for example, like software engineering is helpful because I feel like it's a harbinger. It's a sneak peek of what's to come to basically all types of knowledge work. So the question software engineers had to ask was, how do I write this code? Now the question software engineers need to ask is, how do I get AI to write this code? And the latter forces you to think a bit more like a manager, and basically designing a system in which a very smart and, let's say, excited employee can do helpful work. Because it's obvious that AI can generate a lot of text, it can write a lot of code, but how much of that code is actually helpful? And like, how do you audit that code? So building that system requires more like systems level thinking, higher level thinking that software engineers, maybe they don't do as much as individual contributors, but when they start managing teams of software engineers, they have to think more deeply about that stuff of how do we architect this whole system so that all these teams can be operating in parallel, no one's stepping on each other's toes, and we're auditing the code, we're reviewing the code, and if something breaks, we can fix it easily. So kind of like that design level thinking that, thinking more about architecture is the more important skill set now. And the same thing is going to happen in other domains and is happening in other domains. So it's naturally um, the roles are like humans doing work instead of, okay, your job is to show up and do these tasks. It's I'm hiring you to achieve this outcome, and you're responsible for fulfilling this outcome. And so typically this wouldn't be something individual contributors ever had to think about. They would just like punch in, punch out, like I just gotta do these projects, do what I'm told kind of thing. But I think we're gonna see less value from just like instruction followers because AI agents can follow instructions. We're gonna see more value from this more strategic thinking, this more um, what do I call it? Like getting things done, this like higher level of agency that humans have, because humans can interact with reality, they can talk to customers, they have more degrees of freedom than an AI agent, even though AI agents can do a lot of things. Um, there's there are things that humans can do that agents just cannot do right now or maybe ever. And so it's just like understanding the pros and cons, like the strengths and weaknesses of both these resources in a business. You have human resources, you have AI agent resources, and trying to figure out how do you organize these things together in a system that, produces the best outcome, like that's, most aligned with your business goals. And ultimately, I think this is going to allow humans to do more human stuff. Because I don't, it's not good for us to sit behind desks and sit in meetings, for hours and, it's not ergonomic. What is ergonomic is going out to coffee with people, sitting on patios, going for walks, being in nature. Like these are the kinds of things that are good for us, and they allow us to be more creative and use our brains more effectively. And ultimately, for as powerful as AI agents are, I still believe the human mind is the most powerful problem-solving force that we know about. It's just that most people like underutilize it. But I think hopefully if AI agents, like the best version of the future is agents are taking over the boring, unfulfilling, kind of soul-crushing work that make people's potential dim out. They get so burnt out from doing unfulfilling work that they have no time to do work that is meaningful to them. So they just go watch Netflix or, whatever, go drink with their friends or, they just try to like escape from their life because they're not fulfilled in their work. But if all that work that's unfulfilling is done by computers, humans can f focus on more fulfilling work. And then, people are going to be able to tap into their full potential, which is ultimately the thing that gets me fired up. Like imagining that future. Um, but I guess it's not guaranteed, th- this could go one of two ways. Like one, we could have mass automation and then people just get more lazy, get more complacent, get more comfortable, which I think would be a very sad future. But the future I'm more optimistic about and I'm trying to create is that the automating the boring stuff allows people to have the bandwidth to pursue the things that they are passionate about. And then everyone's potential becomes unleashed. And then we're launching data centers into space. We're building bases on the moon. We're deploying robot colonies throughout the solar system. And we're doing things that we just couldn't have imagined 10 years ago, 100 years ago, whatever it is. So I'm optimistic about the future, but I guess it's not guaranteed.
I love that. I think I'm an optimist with you. And I agree with you that it is up to us to, in these moments, start shaping it and get involved and talking about them and doing things. And so what would you suggest to someone who wants to unleash their potential with AI? What do they do in this moment to either, future-proof their career, their life, using artificial intelligence?
I think the easiest way is to just start using it to do the work that you're already doing, to try to build that intuition of, okay, what is this thing? And how does it fit into my world? How does it fit into my work? And then just like spend some time, just try to use it once, see what happens, maybe try to build a agent skill, whatever it is. Um, because it's only through practice, it's through that experience that you develop the skill. Because, you know, it's really a skill using these AI tools at this point. Um, maybe this stuff will kind of get fixed and the tools will be more, it'll be more obvious how to maximize them for even for someone who is their first time opening up Claude or first time opening up ChatGPT. They don't need to know about all these secret features. Um, but it's probably going to take a while. So I think in the meantime, just like using these tools for, whatever it is, I want to do this research or I want to try to connect it to my calendar to help me, organize calendar events better or, whatever it is, just like hook up Claude to the tools and apps that you're already using and then try to use it to get work done. And I think naturally just you go. You'll be amazed at how much you can learn in just like 10 or 20 hours of spending time with these tools.
Especially watching your YouTube videos, which are so good, by the way. You are so like the way that you explain things, you're so kind, you're so patient. You share your screen. I'm like, oh my gosh, you need to have like a million more subscribers. Like, this is ridiculous.
I
It's so good.
appreciate
You're in
that.
the leading edge, definitely. And as I think, I'm always thinking about the future of work and employees, but also the CEOs. Would the advice to the CEO be the same that you would give, that you just gave an employee?
Yeah, absolutely. So actually a lot of the one-on-one coaching clients I have are CEO founders. And I think they stand to benefit most from these tools because they are usually like the they have the best mental models of their business. And they still have like busy work that they need to get off their plate. So if they could get that off their plate so they could focus more on decision making and they can use Claude as a decision-making partner so they don't have to do as much like tedious research or, whether that's like on the internet or internal research or whatever it might be. Um, yeah, it's the same exact thing. So just like spend time with these tools. You don't have to be writing code to get value from them. They're helpful for all kinds of work. And I think that four-step process for developing skills is going to be very helpful. So that's what I've been teaching the CEO founders, and that seems to be making a big difference. So like taking at least 5 hours a week of busy work off their plate. That's the
That's huge. That's
yeah,
priceless. That's because that compounds too. You take 5 hours of busy work this week, and like you're saying, high leverage activities, and they can spend that talking to more clients, scaling, hiring
exactly.
people, whatever it is, or implementing more AI. So smart.
Exactly. So it's not just about like the time savings, but it's what you can do with that freed up time. And it's most definitely like the like little busy work that you had to do that is like something you can give a executive assistant, but it just it's more work to like tell the executive assistant to do it than just to do it yourself. Um, if you just have Claude kind of automatically doing stuff like that, um, it frees you up to do the like in that 5 hours to make like $1 million deal or whatever it is, like $1 million decision for the business, like you can have really outsized returns on that time you get back. But what is harder to quantify, but I've kind of experienced for myself, it's not just like the time savings, but like all this stuff takes attention and energy. And it's really like the boring stuff that is it like takes this energy and attention and I don't know, it's just like draining and then I don't even have the even if I have time for the important stuff, I may not have the energy or as much energy for the important stuff. So at the end of the day, like they're like the three things AI helps with, it allows people to do more. So you can take more sales calls, you can I don't know, have more meetings, you can, whatever it is, like whatever moves the needle for your work, you can do more of that. You can do it faster, so you can get through your inbox faster, so you have time for the important stuff. So instead of an hour, maybe it takes you 15 minutes. Or you can do it better. So now that you have this you have more energy, you can spend more time on making higher quality decisions, or you can have like 10 research agents go out and help you like gather data, gather intel to see how are other companies doing stuff like this. What might that look like in our industry? What does it look like our competitors are doing? And you can synthesize all that instead of you manually having to do those web searches yourself. So, yeah, more, faster, better. That's the punchline.
I mean, that's what every CEO wants, right? I mean, there is like no better thing. And so you have almost 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. You get a ton of comments. You're super engaged with your community. What are people saying? And then just curious, what is the reluctance? Because AI has told us, more, faster, better. Why are people so reluctant?
I think at the end of the day, change is scary. And so whenever you're facing the unknown, it's natural to fill in the blank with the worst case scenario because that's what keeps us safe, just evolutionarily, biologically. And so it's normal. Um, and I think people kind of go through these like ebbs and flows of like, you know, AI is all hype, it's worthless, and then they kind of go, they learn a little bit more, than they're like, and they're able to do something they didn't know they could do. They're like, oh, this is amazing, and then it kind of crashes down again. Of like, oh yeah, this is all hype, it's all BS, and then they kind of do something else, and like, oh, this is amazing. So the reality is probably somewhere in the middle of like I don't know, this is all hype and it's not going anywhere, or like this is going to change everything. So I think that's one dimension for sure. There's also like general anxiety of, you know, mass unemployment, like people losing their jobs. Um, and I think ultimately that is definitely a risk for, well, let me say it this way. When things change, the most important skill set that you can rely on is your adaptability. And that is probably the thing that humans are best at. So that's why I'm optimistic about the future, is that, most times we kind of try to maximize comfort, which is just, I think, another one of those evolutionary mechanisms, because we like spend so much time trying to survive. So once we kind of get to a stable point, we just want to like, be comfortable, be safe, which is very natural. But now the environment is changing. And so what used to be stable and safe is no longer going to be stable and safe, which is a scary notion. But everyone has it in them. Everyone has this, biological code within us that allows us to adapt to our environment. I guess people are scared because the environment is changing and it's uncertain future. But I guess, this is something I faced a lot, especially in entrepreneurship, where no guaranteed income and you're just trying to figure it all out. For the first 6 months, first 3 months, I was having a great time. And then the next 3 months, I was
It was like
freaking out.
retirement. It was like,
Exactly.
wow.
But then the next three
I
months, I was freaking out. But ever since then, I've just gotten used to it. And so, kind of something I tell myself is, trust yourself. You're going to figure it out. And I think that's the same advice I give other people. Like, you're smart. Like, you have this amazing weapon between your head, between your ears. You have this brain that is the most powerful problem-solving force that we know about. And this is actually an incredible opportunity because this changing environment is going to awaken that powerful tool that you have, and it's going to allow you to improve your life and the lives of the people that you care about. Um, so definitely change is scary, but it's also not something new or something that we're not accustomed to. Like we're built for change and adaptation. If we're good at anything, it's this.
I love that perspective and using it like a tool, right? And I love what you're saying about the human brain just being even more amazing than AI, because a lot of people are scared, or they just think, oh, I'm going to outsource my thinking, or we're allowing our children to outsource their thinking. But you're saying the opposite. You're saying, we have these amazing brains, and it's just going to magnify. It's going to help you in your day to day into more, faster, better of what you're already doing or what you'd like to do.
It's more valuable than ever because the things that were just, you know, before they had women in a room doing calculations and they called them computers. But then we learned how to get computers to do that, and that wasn't needed anymore. But there's still like the analog of that, of people doing, work like that right now. But that stuff is like anything that can be automated, like by it, yeah, any of those things that can be automated are just not going to be valuable anymore because it's going to be done by a computer. But there's infinite things that need to be done. There's no shortage of problems that need to get solved. And the more problems that we solve, the more problems that we create, and there's no end to human desire. We're only going to want more. We're only going to want to set bigger goals, bigger challenges. Um, and this is going to require more and more abstract skills, higher and higher level skills, like deeper and deeper expertise and specialization. So those skills, like those, uh, yeah, so those skills are more important now than ever before. Like the kind of mindless tasks that you do now, like those are not going to be valuable in the future because they can be done by a computer. But, probably most people don't like doing mindless work. They don't like doing quote unquote busy work. They like doing work that is challenging and stimulating and makes them feel like they're, I don't know, actually like doing something interesting, doing something novel. So I don't know. I think at the end of the day, it's going to be better for everyone, like virtually everyone. But there is going to be a period of discomfort, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it is an uncomfortable thing.
Definitely. It's just like, right, like the gym or when you do something uncomfortable to build those muscles. And our brain is the same way. When you're learning something new, it can feel quite, you can really feel the leap. Um,
Yeah.
I'm curious, how important do you find a play and creativity when learning AI?
Well, you have to you have to play, like you have to explore, you have to be curious. Otherwise, it's all pain and suffering. Because like you said, learning is hard. It's very uncomfortable. Um, because I mean, everyone's experienced this. Like you think things would go a certain way. So you have like some prediction in your mind of the way things should go, and then you try to do it you try to play it out and it doesn't go as you expected and you get like anxious, confused, stressed. But that's the body's like natural mechanism for learning. So like this stress and anxiety that you feel is kind of making your brain, your nervous system more plastic. It's priming you for learning. So you can't take that out of the learning process. It's kind of baked into our biology. Um, but that's why play makes it more enjoyable. So the mistakes, they aren't as devastating or painful. Um, and you're kind of reinterpreting the surprise as more curiosity as opposed to, something negative. And so, yeah, I think I've been doing a lot of playing and maybe sometimes disguising the play as work so I can talk myself into doing it. Like right now, I'm trying to get Claude to get even better at editing my YouTube videos. So this is like a bit of play, but also, um, if this goes well, it could also save me a lot more time, which is a great thing. So,
Which is a
uh,
great thing. Maybe more in-person things, maybe more videos, right?
yeah.
What are some things that you're optimizing in your business using agents, using Claude?
Yeah, so these are all the skills I've created, and there's actually more, but these are all the things I've been using in Claude Cowork. So this one I use every single day because I get very confused with like keeping track of leads and when was the last touch point and when the next call is and when do I send a follow-up email. This skill just helps me keep track of the CRM. So my CRM is just a Notion Notion page that I created. So I'm not paying for like Salesforce or HubSpot or anything like that. Um, and then this is basically like telling Claude everything it needs to know about my CRM, how to write notes, like what my sales pipeline is, let's see. Yeah, just like all this kind of stuff. And then also it has like all these different like how to follow up with people, it has all these different workflows, like how to sync the CRM, how to update it, how to add a lead, how to link calls, how to move clients around, how to do onboarding. Let's see, how to write emails like me. And then there are a bunch of like email templates here. Pre-call research, this is a big one. So anytime before a sales call, Claude will go off and do research about the person and uh, add the notes to the Notion page that I'm writing my sales call notes in. Let's see if we can find the
Incredible.
format for it. Um, yeah, so I guess there's a lot here.
This
Um,
is so cool. I mean, it's like you can use somebody else's CRM, but it's never going to be customized like this.
Exactly. And again, this kind of goes back to the theme of ergonomic. So, because I'm using Notion, I can like fully customize everything. Because I'm using Claude, I can have Claude basically add all the features I wish Notion had. But it would never make sense for Notion to have those things because they're very idiosyncratic to me.
even just reading your screen, it says like ask Shaw before creating one, and it's like you can embed these rules where if you're not comfortable with it going and automatically doing certain things, you can say, well, just ask me before you do it.
Yeah, exactly. So you like this is kind of like again that double-edged sword. You have complete flexibility and freedom, but also that's kind of like overwhelming. Like you don't even know where to start. And so that's why it's just like dipping your toes and just starting to play around with them. And then over time, you start to build the intuition and better understanding of what these tools are capable of and how to better steer them. So yeah, got one for like writing LinkedIn posts, how to write sales letters, how to pull my LinkedIn analytics, the executive briefing. This is a great one. So I have like tasks all over my Notion, but I can just go to Claude and say, give me a rundown of what I've got going on tomorrow. Just give me like a bulleted list of like the key things, business strategy things. This is a big one, skill updater. So every time I want to update a skill, it uses this one. How to do outreach campaign. Um, yeah, I have more. Let's see. I guess more that I have like saved in Claude code are writing proposals. So that's actually a really big one. Um, that went from taking maybe hours to 15, 30 minutes. And it's like fully
Wow.
customized, creates a PDF. I guess again, I won't show that for like privacy, but
Definitely.
that one's really nice. The video editor is probably the highest leverage one. So I would spend hours and hours every single week editing YouTube videos, but that the video editor skill that I created is saving me, I don't know, 3 to 5 hours every single week
That's
with
incredible.
that.
It's using Claude or is it using another app?
No, it's all Claude.
Incredible.
So, yeah, that's the thing. It's like there's so much flexibility. Like you can literally automate anything, but it's really about developing the skill set and bringing the clear thinking, like the right mental models to Claude so that it can uh, do helpful work.
Exactly. And that specificity. Thank you so much for sharing that. So generous. So much value. And being able to just take a peek into your world and understand, you know, like you're not a solopreneur anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like
Right,
you
right.
have just like you're now in the leagues of someone who has an executive assistant, a video editor, like
hmm
you are like Hormozy level, content creator now. It's like it's amazing. Like what a
Yeah,
time to be alive.
and it's not just me, it's everyone. Like everyone can punch above their weight now. And I think this is why a lot of established companies are scared because, you know, I feel like there's actually a real like disadvantage for 1,000+ person companies because I'm just like in like my interaction with them, things just move a lot slower at the bigger firms, and it's harder to like roll out the technology, it's harder to upskill people. But if like a 50-person business can roll out Claude to everyone and basically get like have this like frenzy take over the business where everyone's automating and building skills and things like that, and all of a sudden they're competing against a 500-person business in their industry, or like that 200-person business is competing against a 2,000-person business. um, I know it's just gonna be like this very interesting time. But I do think generally like smaller is better because there's the whole concept of the Dunbar number of like the number of people that you can have a meaningful relationship or at least any kind of relationship with in a tribe in a community. So I could see like businesses starting to I know. I could see some kind of like gravitational pull for businesses toward and around the Dunbar number, and business and work just becoming more fulfilling and more, or again, like ergonomic, like toward human nature. Like we want to operate in tribes. We want to do things we like with people we like. We like to have shared goals and have shared purpose. Um, And so I don't know. I guess I'm just optimistic about the
I
future, but
love
these are just
that.
some observations.
I love that. I think what you're saying, it's like imagine if you had a cruise ship and a small boat. It's like which one's going to be like faster to do a U-turn or turn
Yeah,
around. It's like, well, sure, the
exactly.
cruise ship can, but it's going to take a minute.
Hmm.
And I love this idea of maybe down, like becoming a smaller company, downsizing an organization. Maybe that's better for everybody so that there's like more community, more connection, better
Hmm.
company culture, more
Hmm. Hmm.
influence, more mobility, more just a better organization that you want to be a part of, not the kind of organization you're like, I want to work remote because I don't really want to be there,
Right, exactly.
so I love that perspective a lot of AI allowing organizations to operate at a large scale in the same way that your business is, but you're not needing
Hmm.
to have a whole room full of video editors and executive assistant, VA, like all these things.
Yeah, and I think on the individual level, it'll give people the optionality to do work that's more aligned with their goals and values and that's more fulfilling to them. And I think all that trickles up, it kind of um it converges together, and then I think happy people lead to happy teams, lead to happy organizations, lead to happy companies. Um and then, companies become more specialized because you can just get more niche. And then if there are more businesses, there's going to be a need for more businesses to serve those businesses. So no, I'm curious. I'm curious to see what the future is going to look like.
It's changing so fast. I mean, it's like a month goes by and it's like, oh my goodness.
Right.
Oh my gosh. But you are on the leading edge, and I am so grateful for you and your channel and the good work that you're doing. You're helping so many people learn and get onboarded and learn these tools. And you speak to the person who's super advanced and the person who's just starting out. So it's like you have great content. Um, and so, where can people find you? How can they hire you, connect with you, learn from you, join your community, all of it?
Yeah, so the best place is my YouTube channel. So I got a bunch of free videos on there. Just Shaw Talebi on YouTube. You'll find me.
Awesome. That's a great way to connect. Yeah, you earned my subscribe like right away. So good. So good. Oh, Shaw, this was such a pleasure. Thank you so much for your generosity, for your time, for all your knowledge, your wealth of just so much wisdom.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Awesome. Stay well.